Hello Oracles! In this video I'm going to break down all of the splits that I foresee happening for Tesla stock over the next decade, including timing of the splits, the ratio of the splits, any buybacks that go along with it, and the reasons why we would be leading up to that price target to allow for a split at that time. Now, a lot of assumptions go into this, so just want to preface this with, I base all of these numbers off of my valuation model, and my valuation model all starts from production numbers for the company. I have all this information over on my Patreon if you want to check it out there. That link is down in the description. So I got all those numbers put together, I put them into my valuation model, and all of these numbers are derived from Tesla's goals themselves. That is how I come up with my base model for my valuation. And my valuation model currently includes mostly EV revenue, very little revenue coming in from FSD, Robotaxis, insurance, and definitely no AI, at least until the very end of the decade, just because those things have not come to fruition yet. So I just alter my PE ratio a little bit to account for the percent chance that I believe that Tesla is going to solve these over the next decade. And also, with any time anyone is doing any long-term forecasting, a lot can change between now and then. So these are a lot of assumptions that are being made based upon how Tesla has historically handled their stock splits and how they have forecast themselves for production, for revenues, for volume, for a lot of different things. So a lot of these has a lot of assumptions based into it. So again, this can definitely change over time, and I will update this regularly on a quarterly basis for you guys. And so the biggest variable in all of this is going to end up being buybacks if Tesla is going to stay consistent with splitting around that $1,000 mark. Because if Tesla does not do enough buybacks to drive the price up that high, they might not end up doing a 4-to-1, they might push off the split a little bit longer. So the buybacks are a big variable, so I do anticipate a lot of heavy buybacks to be able to drive that price up to keep the market cap where it's at a reasonable level, but also bring the stock price up to be able to split. Again, a lot of variables, and again, this is just my spitballing ideas as far as what I can see for projections down the road. A lot of different things can happen. This is more of a fun exercise for us to follow along and see how Tesla is going to handle things over the course of the next decade. And now I know I've had many discussions on here with many of you about buybacks and that Tesla could be spending their money more wisely in reinvesting into the company and R&D and other things, but based upon their free cash flow and the fact that all of their CapEx spending is already accounted for, they would still have excess cash. Leo Koguan believes this as well. Gary Black is also looking at buybacks as a strong potential. Stephen Mark Ryan. So, just looking at the free cash flow that they have coming in means that they would have enough to do both investing in their R&D and building the company, as well as doing buybacks. All right, so let's get into it. So I think it's going to be a lot of rinse and repeat for the next decade. I think a lot of these are going to be based on Tesla getting themselves to $1,000 as a share price, because they've historically shown that when it gets closer to that $1,000 mark, they like to split it and they like to bring the price down to between $250 and $350. So based upon that knowledge that we have, looking forward with my valuation model, where I think we are going to hit $1,000 in a share price is what is going to determine when we split. So the next split I see coming is going to be August of 2024. I think Tesla is going to end up splitting probably the same time every single time they split. They've done it the last 2 times. And I think a lot of this has to do with the employee stock purchase plan, the fact that they have windows open in September and March around those time frames. So they've been doing it in August to drop the price down so that when the employees can purchase their stock through the plan, they can get it at a lower price and more employees can take advantage of this. We saw that happen this time around because we had Berlin and Austin coming online, a lot of new employees with the company. Now they can all take advantage of this. I think the same thing is going to happen in 2024. We are looking at most likely 3 to 4 more factories popping up between now and then, so there's a good chance there's going to be a significantly larger number of employees out there who will want to take advantage of the employee stock purchase plan. Over that course of time as well, we're going to have Cybertruck that is now getting up to ramp. We are going to have Robotaxis hitting the road. We are going to most likely have FSD solved at that point to level 4. So a lot of great things are going to get the momentum of the company going. We are definitely going to have the credit rating up to investor grade by then as well. A lot more institutions will be involved in this. They may even be included into the Dow. A lot of great catalysts going on to push the stock price back to $1,000 or more by the end of 2024. My stock price target at that point is going to be $1,132. So you get split news, could run up to $1,200 pre-split, and that would in turn bring the stock price down to $300 post-split. And at that point, I'm anticipating Tesla's going to be delivering 3.6 million vehicles. They're going to have revenue coming in of about $210 billion. Free cash flow will be $32 billion and have a market cap of over $3 trillion. And I think with all of these splits, they're going to end up doing buybacks, and they may end up doing buybacks over the course of time as well, not just at the time that they split. But this is what is in turn going to allow the company to bring the stock price down to that $300 level, do some buybacks. It kind of pushes the stock price back up a little bit, and then we grow from there as they do more buybacks. We get closer to $1,000 sooner and then do another split. So that's why I think this is going to be a rinse and repeat over the next decade. So the next split after 2024, I think is going to be August of 2026. It's going to be another 4-to-1 split, and it's going to have more buybacks included in this. So when you're looking at the buybacks coming in this, again, they're going to bring the stock price down. At that point, I'm anticipating the stock price is going to be a little over $1,600 from where we are right now. But due to the buybacks that they are going to be doing and the previous split, it'll be getting close to that $1,000 mark again. Just seems like they're going to be keeping that stock price between $1,000 and $250 and work with buybacks along the way for whatever reasons they need to do the buybacks. A lot of times buybacks are done because board members or higher level executives get paid a lot of their bonuses in options, so they need to get the shares themselves to be able to issue those options out there for their executives and board members. So they do the buyback, the company then has those shares, they can then issue them back out, and then rinse and repeat again. We just keep on going that way. So now by 2026, I think they're going to have another 3 factories up and running. At that point, I think they're going to have 10 factories up and running. So again, a lot more employees on board that are going to be needing, to get into this employee stock purchase plan. So they will have an opportunity to do so post-split when the stock price comes down again. At this point, I also think insurance is really going to be taking off. We are going to have robotaxis on the road more regularly. FSD is going to be solved, so the take rate on that is going to be significantly higher. We're going to have much higher revenues coming in from it. We know that FSD right now is $15,000 as of September 5th. So at that point, who knows what the price is going to be for FSD. And I think the company is going to be delivering 7.1 million vehicles that year and $330 billion in revenue, and that's just from EVs alone. That doesn't even include the insurance, any FSD revenue, any robotaxi revenue, any energy revenue coming in that is mostly from EVs. Free cash flow will be $71 billion. And then I think with all of the buybacks that they're doing and where their share price is going to be at, their market cap will be around $5 trillion. And now the next split is a lot of the same, August of 2028. So yep, every 2 years, every August, they are going to be doing a 4-to-1 split based upon my projections. So looking at 2028, I think at this point, we have Optimus kind of starting to look and see what's going on. Optimus is definitely helping keep costs down in all of the factories. EV adoption at this point is going to be 80%, and Tesla's going to have 15% of that market, producing and delivering over 12 million vehicles that year. And so with EVs taking over, Tesla's really just taking over everything in the world as well. And at this point, robotaxis and FSD are starting to become the norm that are out there. And we are going to be seeing probably 2 more factories to cap Tesla off at about that 10 to 12 factory mark that Elon had mentioned. And I think that they're going to have 2 Optimus factories up and running at that point as well. I think we're going to start seeing some Optimus come out that, other manufacturers will be able to use. They will start purchasing those, and we'll have Optimus more regularly used and sold in other factories. And I think Tesla's revenue that year is going to be about $521 billion. Again, that is mostly EVs. Free cash flow will be $132 billion. And based upon today's share price, I think we're going to be pushing about $2,400. But again, with all the buybacks, it's going to alter everything around a little bit. So they're going to end up having a market cap of around $7 trillion. And then the last split I see coming is going to be between 2030 and 2032. I've got it as 2030. I think it's really going to depend on when Optimus really does end up taking off. It's going to be in August again, and it will be another 4-to-1 split. And we will get buybacks, and I think at this point we will also get dividends, depending on where we are with Optimus. If Optimus is really up and running, then I think dividends are a possibility. Plus, who knows what's going to happen over the next decade when it comes to any new projects that Elon or Tesla decide that they want to work on. But if nothing else massive comes out between now and then, they could be at a point where dividends make a lot of sense to give back to their shareholders. And now in 2030, I have them delivering 19.5 million vehicles, and they're going to to have a $787 billion in revenue coming in. Again, that is mostly from EVs. They could very easily be pushing over $1 trillion in revenue come 2030. Free cash flow will be $215 billion. So at the time of that split, I'm anticipating a stock price of around $3,700 based upon today's stock price. And then, of course, with all the buybacks over the course of the decade, we will have about $11 trillion market cap in 2030 to 2032. So those are all the splits that I anticipate seeing over the next decade. Now, here comes the really fun part. It comes down to what we talk about regularly on here is accumulating as many shares as possible. So what does accumulating as many shares as possible now mean for the future if we get all of these splits all along the way? So let's say you have 100 shares of Tesla stock right now, and you do not add any more over the next decade. By the time we hit this last split, you will have 25,600 shares. Now let's say that Tesla decides that they want to do a 25-cent per share dividend. That pays quarterly. That just means that you are going to be receiving $6,400 per quarter based upon your dividends because of you owning 100 shares now and holding until then. And the reason I chose 25 cents per share is because currently that is close to what Apple is giving out in their dividends. Apple is giving out 23 cents per share every quarter, so 25 cents made sense to go with as a number. And so I'm currently at 44 shares, and at minimum I want to get to 50 shares by the end of the year. I think I will be much higher than that, but we're going to go with a rounded down lower conservative number of 50 shares. So I will be at half of that number from the 100 shares, and I'll have $3,200 coming in on a quarterly basis from dividends. Now here's where dollar cost averaging and continuing to add over time is going to make a massive difference in the end when it comes to all of these potential splits. So if I hit 50 by the end of this year and I continue with my $20 a day dollar cost averaging, and I do not increase that, which I do plan on, if that stays steady over the next 2 years before that split in 2024, based upon my price target growth and average purchasing price over the next 2 years, I would be adding on about 13 shares. Those 13 shares alone over the next decade with these splits will end up increasing that dividend return by $1,216 per quarter. So over the course of the next 2 years, I would be investing about $10,400 into Tesla, and in 10 years, that would equate to $1,216 in quarterly dividends just from that investment. That is no changes. That doesn't even include the growth of the stock price over that time. So even if we conservatively 4x over the next decade, that would end up meaning that's another $41,000 of portfolio growth, along with that $1,216 extra for dividends that are coming in. So you go just 9 quarters down the road, and all of those dividends alone will have paid for that initial investment. Then you still have that growth on top of it. These numbers started to blow my mind. That's why I was telling you guys all week long, I had to redo the numbers. Like, are these right? Are these legit? And if these splits do end up coming to fruition, and we multiply our shares by that many, and Tesla does decide to do dividends in 2032, and those dividends are 25 cents per share, that means massive cash flow generation come that time. So my 50 shares and continuing to add over time means that I will end up with well over $4,000 per quarter in dividends alone coming out of Tesla stock. So just running these numbers, I'm like, I want to add more. Now, obviously, nobody knows what the future is going to bring. Anything can happen between now and then. These splits do not have to happen. These are just my projections and the forecasts that I am seeing it could potentially have over the next decade. But playing this whole entire scenario out tells me that $4,000 per quarter coming in from just dividends alone means that I want to add even more. So let me know in the comments below, how much would you guys be getting in from dividends alone if this scenario played out? If Tesla decided that they were going to do 25 cents per share in a dividend, and we have 4 more 4-to-1 splits over the next decade, how much would you guys be bringing in for your quarterly dividends? Quick math to do on it, just in case you're curious. Take the number of shares you have right now, multiply it by 4 times, and then multiply that by 0.25. And so essentially for every share that you own now, it would be worth $64 every quarter in dividends in the future. Very simple formula, and this way you guys can calculate what your dividends would be at that time if Tesla decides to do them. So if this happens, for me alone, if I add the way I have been adding over the next decade, I'm looking at a portfolio that is going to have over 20,000 shares, be worth about $20 million, and be bringing in over $4,000 in quarterly dividends. That's just for me. Again, a lot of things can change. I do plan on adding more than that over time, so I anticipate having significantly more money than that coming in. But that will change. I will keep you guys posted on that. But again, let me know down in the comments where you guys will be at with dividends, what share count you would have at that point, and what you guys think we see for share splits over the next decade as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat, that link is down in the description, and if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a Patreon, that link is also in the description. Thank you so much, have a great one.